spin tonight in some of the same ways he desperately needed to spin the Access Hollywood tape 8 years ago ahead of a debate. Politico reporting this, quote, the issue of his conviction is almost certain to come up during the 90-minute debate. It'll be the first time that either Trump or Biden will confront the prospect of sustained questioning on the subject, as well as the first time that the two men will have the opportunity to speak directly to one another about it. Reporting from the New York Times suggests that the Biden camp sees it all as part of a bigger picture around Trump's lack of fitness for office. From that reporting, quote, for Mr. Biden, making the debate about Mr. Trump means confronting him for his role in the January 6 attacks on the Capitol, his willingness to pardon people convicted in the riot, whom Mr. Trump has called hostages, and his remark that he's not going to be a dictator, quote, except for on day one. And one more, Mr. Trump's new status as a convicted felon. The Biden campaign has begun to cast Trump's legal woes under a broader umbrella, arguing that the former president cares only about himself and is running in part to avoid prison. American voters on the verge of witnessing the first and perhaps only historic high-stakes presidential debate of the 2024 general election campaign is where we start today with some of our most favorite experts and friends in Atlanta, the site of tonight's debate. Former senator and co-host of MSNBC's How to Win 2024 podcast, Claire McCaskill, is here with us. Plus, former RNC spokesman, the host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller, is here. Joining us on set, former Obama campaign manager, MSNBC political analyst David Plouffe is here. Tim Miller, I start with you. You've been a newsmaker yourself this week with Adam Kinzinger's really strong, really enthusiastic endorsement of Joe Biden yesterday ahead of tonight's debate. Talk about whether that's some wind at his back politically or whether this event itself, this 90 minutes of face-to-face squaring off, sort of eclipses everything that's happened before it.
Well, I think you need both. I think it's a both and, Nicolle. I've been just passionately begging, I guess, any Republicans or former Republicans that are opposing Donald Trump to actually go that next mile and support Joe Biden, because there are persuadable voters, all the ones that we've been talking about, that voted for Nikki Haley in those primaries. And I think that they are going to listen to people like Adam Kinzinger, who showed courage on January 6th and who, are still conservatives, but are voting for Joe Biden. I think that they will listen to the ad that Joe Biden put out today, the campaign put out today, featuring Alyssa Farah, who is the communications director, and John Bolton, and all these others, Mike Pence, all these others. And so I think it's important that they go that next step and endorse Joe Biden to help create a permission structure for those voters. That said, Joe Biden also has to help himself tonight. Right. And I think there is a category of voters, some of this in the Nikki Haley category, some of this in the Democratic base, who have some questions about Joe Biden, who want to see that he has the vigor tonight, who want to see that he is up for this job for the next 4 years. Paired together, I think having that outside support and the endorsees like Adam Kinzinger with a strong, aggressive performance tonight, I think we could see some movement for Joe Biden.
Let me show you, Claire, that ad that Tim's talking about, and let me ask you about how you turn them into, the permission structure is not just to reject Trump, but it's to go in and vote for and be an enthusiastic supporter of Joe Biden. It's a different thing, right, than just the rejection of Donald Trump, which has happened, at the highest levels, from his own vice president to the most important actors here, the voters themselves. Let me show you that ad, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Dictator, tyrant,
dangerous,
threat to democracy.
I cannot in good conscience endorse Donald Trump.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
We worked with him. We knew him. This man is unfit to be president. A second term would be more dangerous than a first.
Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, they're fully prepared to take advantage of him.
Yes, I do regard him as a threat to democracy, for all those things that make America great.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Again, what does Joe Biden tonight do with that?
Well, listen, I think it's a pretty powerful ad. And by the way, there are more. I think it was great to include the military. And this is where we've talked some today about Nikki Haley voters. You know, if you look at foreign policy, if this debate gets into foreign policy, I think it'd be really important for one of the pivots of Joe Biden to put Trump on defense about his love affair with the worst of the worst in the world, the people who don't want democracies or freedoms or rights to their citizens. This is where the Nikki Haley voters and a lot of those people that were in that ad lost it with Donald Trump. When they saw him playing footsie with Kim Jong-un and loving up on Putin, and then what he said about what Putin has done to the good people of Ukraine, trying to go in and change the boundaries of their country by force. This is where I think you get Trump on defense, because he doesn't have a good answer for all that stuff. And I think it's another place that you can shave some of those Republican voters away from Donald Trump and put them firmly in the Biden camp, because he does believe in NATO and he does believe in protecting our allies.
Okay, Claire, because you've watched every moment of this political train wreck with me for the last 9 years, let me just press you. I mean, this suggests that when we get to the foreign policy section, there'll be offense and defense and opportunities to make point. I mean, you're not expecting, are you, tell me what you're expecting tonight.
Oh, I think it's going to get ugly. Don't get me wrong. And I think Joe Biden's number one priority, as I've said over and over again today, is to get under Trump's skin, so Trump behaves according to his character, which is outrageously. That has to happen. But every time Trump attacks Joe Biden needs to deflect it with facts, and then he needs to pivot and punch. He needs to go right back and put Donald Trump on defense. Call him the loser he is and go after it. And I mean, throw haymakers, do whatever he needs to do to show pure strength against this guy.
Let me bring you in on this point, David Plouffe. This is in the Bulwark, and it says, here's how CNN should handle Trump at the debate but won't. Quote, here's what the CNN moderator should do when Trump posits one of his extraordinary lies. They should stop the debate, grind everything to a halt, and produce the receipts proving that Trump is lying. These receipts should be on paper and physically at the anchor's desk. There should be video packages ready and waiting to deploy to viewers supporting them. And the moderator should not move on until Trump admits that he is lying, even if that means that the debate never happens and we get 90 minutes of Jake Tapper and Dana Bash pointing to the evidence and asking Trump the same question over and over again, even if it means Joe Biden never gets to speak.
Well, that would be nice, but it's not reality. So this is on Joe Biden to manage this debate, to manage Donald Trump. You can't assume there'll be any assist from the moderator. And so I agree with Tim and Claire. I mean, he's got to show vigor.
Can I just press back momentarily? Why would it be an assist to the moderator to insist on the truth being uttered before they move on?
Well, maybe there'll be some moments where Jake and Dana say, wait, you said this 2 years ago, but having prepared folks for these debates as you have, you've got to assume this is all on you. And you can't be frustrated.
Just talk about an extraordinary burden. So Joe Biden has to defend his record. He has to defeat his debate opponent, and he has to be the only arbiter of truth.
Well, you know, he's trying to get rehired for the most important job in the world. He can handle that.
Yeah.
He did very well in the 2 vice presidential debates. He did well in the 2 debates with Trump. And so at the end of the day, this race right now, listen, it could be this is like 16, where basically all the polls are missing something. But if they're not, Trump's got a small but important lead in the battleground states. But Biden's got the ability, I think, to get some people over the line who just want to see him fight and be strong. And then there's a bunch of Democratic voters voting Democrat for Senate who aren't voting for Biden. And that ought to be another cohort he can get back tonight. And listen, if I were them, I wouldn't assume there's going to be another debate. So this is it. You take advantage of these 90 minutes. And that's the hard thing is, preparing these candidates is you have so little time. And I think the thing Biden has to avoid, and Trump, too, even though he's the challenger, he's a former incumbent, going down a rabbit hil of defending your record with stats, it's just a stone cold loser. You can do a little bit of defense, what it means to the American people, and you got to paint the picture of like the next 4 years, me fighting for people, focused on democracy, focused on the economy, Trump focused on himself. And then I think there's going to be abortion moments potentially, maybe rule of law with the Hunter versus Trump way they've dealt with this, certainly immigration, certainly the tax cuts. So, I just at the end of the day, we don't know what the moderator is going to do. So if you're preparing somebody, you just kind of almost you try and guess a little bit what questions they may ask, but you don't role play out whether they're going to interject or not.
Tim Miller, it was in the Bulwark, it was in your publication. Say more about this provocative piece about what should happen tonight around just the truth, the facts.
Yeah, look, I think that what Jonathan was doing was definitely being provocative, but he's pointing to interviews that have actually happened with George Stephanopoulos, where he did this well. We can think of Jonathan Swan during COVID, interviewing Trump, has done this well. And look, it is a different scenario. Dealing with Trump is different. I agree with David that Joe Biden needs to be up for the job that he expects he's going to get, which is probably not a big assist from the moderators. But that said, like, no, we've not had a presidential debate before where one of the people on the stage tried to attempt a coup and continues to lie about whether we have elections in this country that are fair and free, and continues to lie about whether our Justice Department is fair or whether it's biased. Like this is the first time we have somebody like this. I mean, Donald Trump's been on these debate stages before, but we can now add to his just repeated, mendacious, obnoxious lying the fact that these things have happened. January 6th has happened. He's been convicted as a criminal, and he's going to lie, as you said in the intro, about both of these critical events. And so, okay, don't the moderators have some responsibility to hold him to account on that? Joe Biden also does, but so do the moderators. And there's going to be a balance in how to deal with that.
These conversations are uncomfortable. The moderators are two of the best in the business. They both are friends of mine. But how was the first question not who won the 2020 election?
Is that to me? That should be the first question.
Yeah.
That should be the first question. And by the way, if it's not the first question, and you know, look, I'm a failed debate coach, so take my debate advice with a grain of salt. But you know, having coached several candidates who failed against Donald Trump, so I trust Joe Biden. But man, if that's not the first question, it should be pretty, you know, in the first 30 minutes, something that Joe Biden interjects into the debate. Just, you know, especially if it starts to get rowdy, looking over at him and be like, "You realize I beat you, right? Have you yet to admit that you've lost? You didn't show up to the inauguration. You sicked a mob on the Capitol. Capitol Police died because of your lie. Are you ready to admit now that you lost?" I assume that Jake and Dana will get to that, but if not, Joe Biden's got to do it.
I mean, Claire, I guess what keeps me up at night is everything that they need to know about both these men is out there, right? Their concern about Joe Biden is around. It's not just his age, because it's about how he carries his age. It's a question about the delivery. He's someone who's had a lifelong stutter. It seems to have caught up with him in year 4 of the presidency, right? It's something that people view him as halting. But they're open to being wrong. And you look at the reaction in the Democratic coalition after the State of the Union. Oh, my God, where'd that guy come from? There's a lot of hand-wringing. That is something that's in the DNA of the Democratic Party and the Democratic coalition. It isn't in the Republican Party. Obviously, they nominated Trump 3 times. I want to ask you what our role is as we talk about this debate. A lot of people are going to watch this. This could be sort of an NFL football-sized audience. There's also going to be the people that consume the things that people say about it. You tell me the frame that should go around tonight's debate.
I think in a perfect world, I would love the frame to be darkness versus light. You know, listen, Donald Trump is appealing to a lot of people in this country that are just mad. They feel like they haven't been given a fair shot. And he is speaking to them in a way that no other politician has ever spoken to them. He says things he shouldn't say. That gives them some kind of sense that he's on their side. They're wrong about that. He's not on their side. He's busy promising tax cuts to big corporations and promising the billionaires that he gets them and has them and will take care of them. But they believe that. So I really think that what this should be is, overall, if you look at it from a distance, one is going to talk about how terrible the country is, how awful everything is, how America sucks, how everything is rigged. And the other one is going to talk about our ideals and be aspirational and be about the light that America can be to the rest of the world. I think that contrast can get some of those folks that haven't tuned in yet. The guy that's a jerk and impolite, and the guy who loves his family and really cares deeply about America. And yes, he's old, but you know what? He's lived a lot of years and knows a lot of stuff and gotten a lot done, and he cares about keeping our democracy strong. that could win over those people who haven't been paying attention. And mark my words, there will be people watch tonight that haven't paid attention at all, that still are not sure who's responsible for Dobbs and Roe being overturned.
It strikes me that they both stand up there as grandparents, right? And I can't count how many grandkids either of them has at the moment. But I've been saying on this show for days now that, and I prepared people, I mean, you prepared President Barack Obama. I prepared people who were less brilliant debaters, and I think they would say so. But a self-own was always one of our tools. You know, some humility, some like, I know, I mean, and some of these lines George Bush uttered in different settings, but he would make fun of his own malaprops. I mean, Sarah Palin walked out and said, "Can I call you Joe?" And I mean, what is sort of your advice on a self-own for Biden to just say, let's move past your concerns. We're both old, but here's what I will never do. I'll never steal classified documents. I'll never call military heroes losers and suckers. I'll never tell Mark Milley not to have a wounded veteran at a ceremony because, quote, nobody wants to see that. I'll never, ever make you embarrassed to have me as president. I'll never say that fame. I mean, he re-upped. You can grab women between the legs when you're famous in a deposition for E. Jean Carroll. That's his position today. How do you get on the record with all the things Trump's proud of that the country isn't?
Well, this is, you know, it's a huge opportunity for Biden because I agree with Claire. A lot of people are going to decide this election actually aren't up to speed on what Trump has said or done or what Biden has said or done. But, you know, you can't focus on 25 things. And so the challenge always is, because actually, if you think about it, moderators' questions, I guess CNN's doing 2 rounds of commercials. So each candidate probably has 38, 40 minutes. That's it. So you got to take advantage of that. So the Biden campaign is going to have a list, almost like a football coach scripting the first plays of the game, which is you've got to get these out. On age, I think you should embrace it, which is listen, we're both very old. And I get that a lot of Americans aren't excited about that, but our parties have chosen us. So that's where the differences end. And then at the end of the day, I do think reminding people what Trump lied about in terms of Roe not being on the ballot in 2020, pushing him and pounding him on the reason we don't have a border bill is him. Talking about the Bush tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts. Sorry, I can't do it. I go back to debate mode. And, you know, and obviously we're going to, and I actually think the Hunter Biden moment's going to be huge, right?
Tell me, say more about it. You said it twice. What is the opportunity with Hunter?
I think Joe Biden says, you know, whatever you think about me, you know, I love my family, I love my son. But a jury of his peers found him guilty.
I love the rule of law
that.
so much that,
I'm not going to commute a sentence. I'm not going to pardon him. Let's look at you. You duck accountability on everything. And so
you pardoned, you know, Steve Bannon, you pardoned, you know, all your political cronies. I didn't even pardon my own
And you
son.
want no accountability. And this is what worries me is if you get in there, you're not going to give a damn about anybody in America but yourself. And no one's going to get a job. No one's wages are going to rise. No one's going to get health care because of that. And I think Joe Biden can do that. But because of the concerns about his age, yes, I agree with Claire. It's got to be, I'm for the American people, Joe Biden, Trump's for himself. But he's got to be tough. He's got to put Trump on the defensive because people think Trump is like this feral creature who's got strength. And if Biden can handle him, boy, that goes a long way to saying, okay, he's up for this.
Someone said to me, they'll go with the crazy person over the person they don't think can protect you from the crazy person every time. So it is this person who can catch the rabid raccoon in the box and send it away.
Well, remember what Bill Clinton said, rather be strong and wrong than weak and right in politics. And there's something to that.
I want to show you, and Biden was the person who the voters saw as strong and capable of caging the guy that was crazy and wrong 4 years ago. I want to show you all some of what that looked like because it feels like we've lived 37 years since then. I have to sneak in a quick break. Claire and Tim, you're leaving us. Thank you for starting us off. We'll come back to you through the course of the night. We'll all be here all night. David sticks around for the hour. Still much more to come from Atlanta for us, home of the very first and potentially only presidential debate. It is hosted by our friends at CNN, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, but you can watch it right here on MSNBC with us. We'll be here before and after. We'll next talk with a member of the Biden-Harris re-election campaign. Adrian Elrod is here on how the president is getting ready for tonight. Not watching TV, I'm sure, so we'll find out what he's actually doing. Plus, knowing just how important the stakes are in November, former police officer Harry Dunn, who defended the United States Capitol and everybody in it on January 6th, is making sure no one sits the election out. He was with former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger yesterday as he endorsed Joe Biden, trying to get that message out. Officer Harry Dunn joins us here coming up as well. All those stories and more when Deadline White House continues on this debate day in America. After a quick break, don't go anywhere today.
You know, Priceline helps families save up to 60% on family-friendly hotels.
So many great trips, we might just leave here with another vacation, baby.
Gross.
Oh, take it easy, Paris. And you too, Fort Lauderdale.
Lisa was in Toledo.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Here we go again.
This election is heating up, but the Daily Show news team is barely breaking a sweat.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Comedy Central's The Daily Show on Comedy Central and next day on Paramount Plus.
Is your shower trying to tell you something? Is getting in and out of the bathtub becoming a safety concern? Are you worried about the cost of a bathroom remodel that could go on for weeks and weeks? Well, now you can have a gorgeous new bath or shower that's safer at a price you can afford with a one-day jacuzzi bath remodel.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait. It is amazing.
I would give this whole experience an A+. I definitely wish I would have called sooner.
From soft close shower doors and adjustable shower heads to features like grab bars and custom seats that combine safety and style, it's never been easier. Get your free design consultation, schedule your one-day installation, and start loving your new bath or shower right away.
Only weeks left to get waived installation and no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-990-5143. That's 800-990-5143. Call now.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit coventrydirect.com.
I was always skeptical of credit cards, but I also know it's the best way to build your credit. As an entrepreneur, that's essential. So I got the Chime Credit Builder card. There's no annual fee, no interest, and no credit check. My score's gone up over 100 points. Check it out at chime.com.
I need Q1 full index reports to my desk by noon, complete with comprehensive data analysis.
Are you getting any of this?
Charles.
Yeah, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Mom by morning. Got it?
Got it, boss.
Otter, you got this. For moderate to severe Crohn's disease, Skyrizi is the first IL-23 inhibitor that can deliver remission and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to. Liver problems may occur in Crohn's disease.
Control of Crohn's means everything to me. Ask your gastroenterologist about Skyrizi.
Control is everything to me.
Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Tonight, the first presidential debate, hosted by CNN. Rachel Maddow and team will preview the rematch. Then stay tuned for the full debate, followed by insights and perspective. Special coverage and analysis begins tonight at 7 on MSNBC. Morning Joe, weekdays 6 to 10 on MSNBC.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
white supremacists.
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by.
I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that question?
The question is,
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
Who's on your list? Right. Gentlemen, I think this is so
unprecedented.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make sure. Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir? No, he doesn't know how to do that.
It's not what you've said, and it's not what your party has said.
That is simply
your party doesn't say it. Your party wants to go socialist medicine.
My party is
and
me.
Socialist
right
healthcare.
Now, I am
and
the
they're going to dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the Democratic Party is what I, in fact, approved of.
So, I don't know if that's going to make you watch, make you drink, make you sign up for Netflix, but that is what happened the last time these two men squared off. Joining us at the table, senior spokesperson for the Biden-Harris 2024 campaign, Adrienne Elright is here. So, do you have a plan if Trump starts talking about sharks and electrocution? Because I watched Sarah Cooper is back with a great How to Boat, and it's so crazy, but it's so front of mind for Trump. I mean, is there a plan to deal with the crazy?
Yeah, I mean, certainly our campaign. I mean, we have, as you know, a huge communications team that is really smart and really on top of, making the most out of these moments, making sure that they do break through because, I think a lot of people are going to tune in tonight, but not everyone that we're trying to reach is going to tune in. So we're going to make sure that we're using, those moments effectively to make sure voters understand, what we're dealing with here. But I think, Nicolle, that something that really struck me when you were showing that clip. If you notice, Joe Biden, when he was talking to the American people or presenting his case, he was looking at the camera talking to the American people. You're going to see him do that tonight. He understands what's at stake. He understands how important the issues are. So, yeah, Donald Trump is going to say crazy things. We know that. But this is the first time these two have been really in front of a primetime audience together in nearly 4 years. And it's the first time Trump really has been in front of an audience, that is not just the MAGA type of base. So I think you're going to see President Biden really focusing his argument on what he's going to continue to do for the American people. Whereas Donald Trump, who knows what he's going to do? But that's what the task is.
Sarah Longwell, who runs the Republican Voters Against Trump, as publisher of The Bulwark, has said on this show something that was sort of an aha. The largest voting coalition available to President Joe Biden is an anti-Trump coalition. So just politically, to move all those people to Biden voters in November, activating them, reaching them, animating them with their anti-Trump energies that already exist, is the largest pool of voters available. With that in mind, unless you disagree with the premise, but with that in mind, how do you make sure people know everything Trump has done, that Trump now celebrates the insurrection? Trump launched his campaign at Waco, a hotbed of domestic violent extremism in America. He's a convicted felon. In a sworn deposition, he restated his position that, quote, when you're famous, you can grab women between the legs. All the most awful things about Trump are things he has doubled down on in the last 4 years.
Yep. So there's a couple things. Number one, we did hire Adam Kinzinger's former chief of staff, Austin Weatherman, to run our Republicans for Biden effort. He's fantastic, and he's really making sure that all of the Republicans who did not support Trump in 2020 are, number one, with us. And number two, the people who have been, outspoken, people who used to work for Donald Trump are also in our corner, and that they're using their voices and amplifying their voices in a way that is reaching those people. Obviously, we're spending a lot of money. We've raised a lot of money. We're spending a lot of money to reach those voters. And we're also making sure that, we are using our networks and our message in a way that is breaking through. It's not always easy, Nicolle, as you know, to break through in this fractured media environment. So we are getting creative. And when you look at where we put the infrastructure in the states, we've opened, I think, 250 offices in battleground states alone. So that's 7 states, right? So over 250 offices in those states. We just announced our 1,000th employee in those states. So we are taking this very seriously. We are laying the infrastructure now. This is necessary to make sure that, 6 weeks before the election, when early vote starts in some states, that we have the mechanism in place to be able to reach the very people that you're talking about.
Do you agree that a question should be asked about who won the 2020 election?
Tonight?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I hope it's asked me. That is going to be a major contrast moment for Joe Biden, President Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump, if it passes any precedents here, he's going to make it very clear that he does not believe that Joe Biden won the election. He's going to say that. That is going to be a major contrast moment. Nicolle, you talk a lot on your show about how, oftentimes we don't see Donald Trump all the time. That his rallies are not being aired, on every single network all the time. Fox stopped airing them. Prime example. We have to remind the American people what we're dealing with, the unhinged person. And by the way, I don't have to tell you this. He's become even more unhinged since he's been president. January 6th, something triggered in him. Something set him off. He's become more erratic. He said that he's going to lead as a dictator on day one. If he doesn't win this election, there's going to be a bloodbath. It's terrifying. And we have to make sure that the American people understand what the stakes are. This is somebody who was already crazy before. He's crazier now. And that will be a major moment for President Joe Biden, not only to help make that contrast clear tonight, but also talk about how he's going to continue to deliver for the American people.
A couple things that have changed since they last faced off. His son faced criminal scrutiny from his own Justice Department, was prosecuted and convicted. His son is someone who the Republicans it's like their white whale. They've always thought it was his political pinata. It's never really done any harm to President Biden politically ever. And it doesn't really even seem to juice the right the way it used to. They sort of threw up their hands and gave up on their manufactured weaponization committee. They couldn't find any there. But there does seem to be an opportunity to connect with the vast majority of Americans who've dealt with the disease of addiction and who've walked this walk, who've lived with children who they just wake up every day and they thank God they're alive and they're still fighting. And I wonder if this is a point where he's been through the worst you could imagine, where if Trump comes after him with it, I mean, I can picture Trump with some laptop waving it over his head. I mean, Trump's crazed, and this really has become a fever dream on the far right. It's not an electoral issue around which Biden has any vulnerability. Is it something he's going to talk about if Trump comes after him on it?
Absolutely. He will 1,000% defend his son. And Nicolle, you just hit the nail on the head. There are so many Americans around this country. If it's not a family member, it's a friend, someone who has suffered through addiction, someone who has come out on top. They understand this. This does not work. If Trump thinks that this is going to, play well with independent voters, it's not. I mean, maybe it's going to get some of his base excited, but he's not going to win this election. Donald Trump won't if he doesn't expand his base. He cannot win without expanding his base. So taking on Hunter Biden, the president's son, who, by the way, is not on the ballot, is not going to be an effective strategy. It hasn't worked so far. It's not going to work. And President Joe Biden, one of his greatest attributes is his empathy. And everyone knows that he is a strong family man who loves his family dearly. So that will be a moment. I mean, it will be a hard moment, I think, for, someone like me to watch, because I care deeply about President Biden and his family. But I also know it's one of those moments that he will defend his son. He will rise to the occasion. He's done that numerous times when his family's been attacked. He will do it again tonight if the situation arises.
What's the one thing when you see the debate on your calendar that sort of jolts you awake in the middle of the night? What's your worry?
I don't know that I necessarily have a worry. I think it's more, and I'm not trying to just sound corny by saying this, I look at this as a moment, a real moment for our campaign, where the president can go out there, present his case to the American people, talk about not only what he's done so far, which he's not going to spend a lot of time talking about his accomplishments, but he's going to use his accomplishments as an example, as a proof point for how he's going to get more done in his second term. I see it as a real opportunity. I mean, sure, I think we were talking about this during the break. I mean, primary days, debate days, you're sitting around waiting. And I'm like, what am I going to do to occupy my time? Thankfully, I'm doing television hits, so that's helping. But no, I think this is going to be a real opportunity for the president to talk to the American people. And it's tough to find moments to do that where you have so many people watching, and he has not really had a moment like that since the State of the Union. So this is going to be a really important night for him, an important night for this campaign.
Good luck tonight.
Thanks, Nicolle.
Thanks for spending some time with us. When we come back, a new handful of Republicans are saying what Tim Miller talked about, the permission structure stuff. Jump in. The water's plenty warm enough. You can put country over party. And for the sake of democracy, you can keep Donald Trump far from the White House. We'll talk about that. We'll show you what that looks like when we head back to Atlanta next. Don't go anywhere.
Starting a business is never easy, but starting at 8 months pregnant, that's a different story. With the Chase Ink card, we got up and running in no time.
Earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase with the Chase Ink Business Unlimited card from Chase for Business.
If you're shopping for a home, Realtor.com's Real Choice Financing lets you choose from up to 3 independent lenders, unlike some apps that push you to use their mortgage company.
Really?
Really. Trust the #1 app real estate professionals trust.
Upon approaching the 18th green, Issa Tanaka silently proclaimed, "My brother may think he's a better golfer, a more witty conversationalist. He may think he's superior, but he's not. Because I switched to consumer cellular for the same coverage for up to half the cost. He may have mom's dimples, but I pay less for wireless. I'm the one who wins." Birds, when freedom calls, we're here to answer.
I used to leak urine when I coughed, laughed, or exercised. I couldn't even enjoy playing with my kids.
I leaked too. I just assumed it was normal.
Then we learned about Bulkamid, an FDA-approved non-drug solution for our condition.
It really works, and it lasts for years. It's been the best thing we've done for our families.
Call 800-983-0000 to arrange an appointment with an expert physician to determine if Bulkamid is right for you. Results and experiences may vary.
Rising costs, selective coverage. For countless Americans, the complex specialty care they need is always felt just out of reach. At Evernorth, we give members unrivaled access to the most complex therapies at the best prices, while providing enhanced support like in-home nursing at no additional cost. That's wonder made possible. Evernorth Health Services.
Victims of mesothelioma and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from the estimated $30 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. Over $50 billion has been awarded already. If you have been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. We have served victims of mesothelioma and their families nationwide for over 30 years. We have successfully recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for thousands of our clients. Even if a family member has passed due to mesothelioma, you may still be entitled to a cash award. So call now for your free evaluation. We want to help victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer, and your families get the financial compensation you deserve from the estimated $30 billion in trust funds now available. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call 1-800-290-7477 now or visit us at mesofund.com.
If you have Graves' disease, your eye symptoms could mean something more. That gritty feeling can't be brushed away. Even a little blurry vision can distort things, and something serious may be behind those itchy eyes. Up to 50% of people with Graves could develop a different condition called thyroid eye disease, which should be treated by a different doctor. See an expert. Find a TED eye specialist at isitted.com.
I'm not looking at this election through the lens of being a Republican. I'm looking through the lens of being an American that cares more about the future of my country than the moral bankrupt nominee of my party. There are political ramifications to this decision, but they pale in comparison to 4 more years of Donald Trump, both home and abroad. It's my time to ask a favor of all those thousands and thousands of Republicans across the country who've given us words of encouragement. I have an ask. My ask is this: it is your time to do the right thing. Don't give Donald Trump 4 more years to continue to destroy this country.
A powerful and urgent message from an important and highly credible source. You might remember Jeff Duncan. He's Georgia's former Republican lieutenant governor, a lifelong Republican at that, who in May announced that he would vote for President Joe Biden in 2024. He represents a vital segment of the coalition President Joe Biden is trying to assemble to win in November. Disaffected Republicans who rightly view tonight's debate not as one between two parties, right-left stuff on the line, but as one between a man who tried to put our democracy underwater, to torch it, to burn it all down, and someone who has vowed to preserve and protect it at all costs. Joining our conversation, political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, MSNBC political contributor Greg Bluestein's here, and out in Atlanta, NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. David's back with us as well. Greg, it strikes me that we started, you're like a regular, right? But we started talking to you ahead of and sort of around the release of the tape, of the Raffensperger call, right? And a lot of what you've helped us understand is a fracture, not about whether they're Republicans or not even really whether they support Trump or not, but about the big lie. And Raffensperger and Kemp are just, they're sort of singular, right? And I mean, Georgia's Republican elected officials are in almost a class of their own. And whether they support Trump or not, they do seem to be this flashing sort of sign of life that you can be a Republican and acknowledge the truth about Trump's defeat. I know there are a lot of Republicans in Georgia who don't, right? I mean, Georgia has everything. But I wonder if there's anything about where the debate takes place tonight that triggers any of those fractures from 2020.
You're so correct. I mean, the Republican Party in Georgia is splintered, but the debate site here in Atlanta is full of symbolism. I mean, we're not far from State Farm Arena, the home of the epicenter of election fraud lies involving poll workers who were accused of doing awful things they didn't do. We're not far from the Fulton County Courthouse, of course, which is the center of where that criminal trial is taking place, or is going to take place, involving that Raffensperger phone call and so many other efforts by Donald Trump and his allies to overturn the election results in 2020. And we're not far, of course, well, we're in the center, really, of one of the premier battleground states, where so many independent-minded voters helped swing the 2020 vote to Joe Biden, but also helped elect Republicans like Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to a new term in 2022.
Vaughn Hilliard, I have a million questions for you. Why don't you just start? Actually, is Melania there? Who's there with Trump tonight, other than the Red Tide Brigade?
To our best understanding at this point in time, Melania Trump, the former First Lady, is not flying with him here. This would, if she did show up tonight in Atlanta, our understanding is Jill Biden, the former, or I should say the current First Lady, is going to be here. But Melania Trump has yet to appear on the campaign trail since he launched his bid back in November of 2022, except for the day this last March that she went to a polling location to vote with him back in Florida.
Vaughn, take me inside what the vibe is like there in a place, as Greg Bluestein said, with a lot of not just symbolism, but a lot of the carnage Trump promised really did play out in that state. I mean, we heard the testimony from Raffensperger about the tragic doxing and threats that his family, the women in his family, received. He described them as, quote, sexualized. We heard Gabriel Sterling be the first Republican to go to a microphone and say, quote, someone's going to get shot because of the lies Trump was telling about not losing an election that he clearly lost, according to Bill Barr and all of the Republicans in his own campaign and administration. Just tell me what it feels like in that state almost 4 years later.
Right. There's a reason that this debate is taking place here in Georgia. And I think it would be surprising if President Biden didn't bring up the facts of what played out here in the state with the poll workers and with the efforts to overturn the election and the indictment that had 19 co-defendants, Donald Trump being one of them. Because when you look at Donald Trump ever since really January 6, 2021, he actually has faced very few questions about the efforts to overturn the election. He has only done 2 mainstream press interviews over the last 3.5 years. He didn't engage on the Republican debate stage. And so that's where tonight, over these 90 minutes, they're going to be a unique experience, at least for Donald Trump, because he has been largely able to avoid those serious questions or having to come to terms with what so many, including those here in Georgia, ultimately went through. And I think that that's where Brian Kemp, who was just walking behind us here in the spin room a few moments ago, is such a unique character in this Republican Party. And that fact that Donald Trump tried to oust him, effectively primary him in 2022, and failed to do so. Donald Trump was successful in so many ways in ousting others. The list of those that actually came through unscathed is very small. Right? It's Brian Kemp, Brad Raffensperger, Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska. But they are sort of these oddities in the Republican Party here today. And it would not be unsurprising for Joe Biden, much like a new campaign commercial they put out here today, to openly suggest that, people like Brian Kemp, people like Mike Pence are still unwilling here today wholly back him for the presidency, a Republican for the presidency in the year of 2024.
All right, no one's going anywhere. I want to ask you when we come back, David Plouffe, about this permission structure. We talk about it in the context of Republicans, but I wonder how it animates, or if it animates Democrats as well. How bad is he? He's so bad. All these Republicans are voting for my guy. I have to sneak in a quick break, though, before we have that conversation. Don't go anywhere.
Go beyond the headlines with the new MSNBC app. Read, watch, listen to breaking news and analysis anytime, anywhere. Go beyond the what to understand the why. Download the new MSNBC app now.
Affirmative action is a right that we have.
There has to be something against Asian Americans specifically.
Affirmative action is under attack!
You cannot remedy discrimination and preferences with new discrimination.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine. Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
Tommy Copper's shoulder support bra will be your new favorite.
I love how I feel when I wear it.
Available in 2 styles you'll want to wear every day for all-day comfort.
I'll take all the help I can get.
The bra you've been waiting for.
It's my secret weapon for more confident posture.
Tommy Copper will have you feeling confident and comfortable all day.
Why would I wear any other bra?
Upgrade your bra. Go to TommyCopper.com and save 40% site-wide today.
For years, I've been sharing how Crepe Erase has helped my skin look smoother, firmer, and younger. And now the system I've loved for almost a decade is even better.
Now you can transform your skin from this to this with new Crepe Erase Ultra. Crepe Erase really works. That's why real women have given it thousands of rave reviews. It's the celebrity secret to younger and sexier looking skin.
Crepe Erase Ultra has taken years off my skin. The results have been magnificent.
And now, new and improved Crepe Erase Ultra is our best system ever.
It's clinically shown to instantly improve the look of dry, crepey skin.
Crepe Erase Ultra is something I recommend to my patients because it works.
And now there's more big news from Crepe Erase.
Introducing the Ultra Smoothing Neck Repair, an all-new breakthrough solution for the hard-to-treat skin on your neck with age-defying results you have to see to believe. And you can get it today as a free gift with your order.
I mean, this might literally be the fountain of youth for the neck. The results are incredible.
Today, you can get the new Crepe Erase Ultra system for only $49.95. And we'll give you the Ultra Smoothing Neck Repair for free.
And we'll also give you this customer favorite, the luxurious 4-in-1 line smoothing capsules for your face, free.
That little capsule is a power pack.
And to make this our best offer ever, when you order today, we're going to double your free gift, a $76 value.
There's never been a better time to try Crepe Erase. Get all this, a $143 value for only $49.95, plus free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee.
If you're seeing the signs of crepey skin, don't wait. Now you can do something about it, and your results are guaranteed or your money back.
This is a limited time offer that will not last.
Call 1-800-862-0490 or go to CrepeEraseUltra.com. Order right now.
We're back with Greg, Vaughn, and David. David, we talk about the permission structure in the context, and we sort of talk amongst ourselves, right? It doesn't mean anything to a real person. Permission structure just means someone influential in your world, right? So Republicans see Cheney and Kinzinger, and probably more importantly, a local Republican official hang a Biden flag in their driveway, and it makes them feel more comfortable voting for Biden. I've heard it in the context of Democratic donors. The Democratic donors see all this Republican support for Biden, and it makes Biden feel like the safest and best investment. What do you think the importance is in the Democratic coalition of all the high-profile Republican embrace of President Biden?
Well, first of all, I think ads like we saw earlier and these Republican leaders going out and getting on social media and talking about why they're for Biden, and that's important. A lot of them are saying they're not for Trump. They need to then finish the sentence and say they're for Biden. You know, for Democrats that are flirting with RFK or even with Trump, it's, you know, because at the end of the day, this election, I think, is just going to come down to that small swath of people who you hope at the end of the day say, I just can't sign up for Trump again.
Right.
And so when they see the people who work for him and know him best saying that, it's helpful. It excites donors, too. I'm sure it's an aggressive ad. I think a lot of Democrats have been waiting for these former Republicans to be in commercials, to be, you know, out giving speeches. Hopefully they'll start joining Biden on the Trump and Kamala Harris and introducing him. So I think it's hugely important because at the end of the day, there's going to be a gazillion more polls. It's going to be a close race. If I had to, you know, really target one thing, and it may not be captured properly in polls, it's going to be at the end of the day as people are opening up their mail ballot or they're getting ready to go to vote, they just have that gut check. Do I really want to give Donald Trump 4 more years? And if they've heard consistently over these last few months from people who've been in the Situation Room with him, who've been in meetings with him, who've been in the Oval Office with him and say, this is like a crazy, dangerous thing to do, that's got to be helpful. And I think it energizes Democrats as well because it's a very offensive maneuver.
You know, Vaughn, we had solid reporting at this network and many other news organizations that Trump didn't read his PDBs. They tried everything. They resorted to a lot of graphics and pictures. Still not clear what, if anything, he consumed, but he can read sort of the lines and the trends on a poll. And so it's always interesting where he's reactive. And he's hyper-reactive to his conviction hurting him among independents. We saw Karl Rove over on Fox News holding up his, you know, sort of cheap imitation of Russard's Florida, Florida, Florida on a whiteboard. So even Trump knows He's a few little touch lines into Earth One, and that's one of them. He knows his conviction hurts him. He also knows abortion hurts him. He knows that because Republicans in Kansas voted against the banning abortion and making abortion illegal in every state, which is what a Trump presidency would usher in. He supports leaving it to the states, but there's nothing to stop the Congress from passing a national abortion ban, and Trump hasn't said he wouldn't sign it. So that would be the future. The other thing is what we talk about on this show with military voices, that he did call people who died serving the country suckers, and he believes that people who were injured serving the country are something that no one wants to see. These are the things we know that he knows are liabilities for him. Any insight into how he plans to address what even he acknowledges are his political vulnerabilities?
I'll just use one example, I think, Nicolle, and that was based off of his social media post this morning, with the expectation that he is going to face serious criticism from Joe Biden over the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And this is also a man, Donald Trump, who has not answered where he stands on abortion medication as well. There are still multitudes of questions on reproductive women's health that he has yet to answer. But this morning, he put out a social media post that I thought was interesting. And in part, this is what he said, quote, Biden's policies are a, all caps, nightmare for women when it comes to the border and immigration, almost giving a tip of the hat to how he'll try to turn that critique on its head. And, you know, I went back to the two debates that the two men engaged in 2020. And when he was facing an onslaught of criticism from Joe Biden over, at the time, 200,000 Americans who had lost their lives from COVID, and the Trump administration's response to COVID in those first months, he turned it back to Joe Biden and said, well, because of the Obama administration that you were a part of, there were hundreds of thousands of American veterans who had lost their lives because of the Department of Veterans Affairs under the Obama administration. So I think that this is somebody who has openly suggested over the last week that he is not doing any formal preparations, but instead he's been preparing for his whole life for this moment, that it's in his head, and there's only so much you can do in a room to prepare. And I think that that will come out in full display tonight, the extent to which somebody who has yet over the course of 4+ years been able to provide an alternative health care plan, despite promising one for the last 8 years, or providing any sort of policy when it comes to women's reproductive rights. I think that that's where there's a lot of question marks as to how he will actually respond when Joe Biden presents those to him today.
You know, Greg, it's interesting that we started sort of talking about the history and the recent traumas that the state endured. I mean, Shane Moss and Ruby Freeman are now owed millions and millions and millions of dollars from Rudy Giuliani because a court of law adjudicated the lies that he told. By the one and only Rachel Maddow on what is arguably the most important moment so far of the 2024 presidential campaign season. Coming up next for us right here, we'll look at the big themes sure to come up tonight: preserving democracy, protecting reproductive freedoms. The next hour of Deadline White House starts after a very short break. Don't go anywhere.
And Doug.
Limu, someone needs to customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual. Let's fly.
Chief? Doug.
Oh, wow. I thought you were right behind me.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
This is the story of the one. The one who believes being prepared is not just a way of life. It's how he helps everyone stay safe. He sweats the small stuff before it becomes big stuff. For the one, being an unsung hero in a building full of everyday heroes is just how he likes it. The industrial-grade products you need delivered fast. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tommy Copper's shoulder support bra will be your new favorite.
I love how I feel when I wear it.
Available in 2 styles you'll want to wear every day for all-day comfort.
I'll take all the help I can get.
Go to TommyCopper.com. Save 40% site-wide today.
If you spit blood when you brush, it could be the start of a domino effect. New Parodontics Active Gum Repair Breath Freshener. Clinically proven to help reverse the 4 signs of early gum disease. A new toothpaste from Parodontics, the gum experts.
The cockroach, resilient creatures, true miracles of evolution. Where there is one, others aren't far behind. Always scavenging for food, the cockroach will...
Well, that's horrifying.
Near its favorite...
Ortho Home Defense Max Indoor Insect Barrier. One application kills and prevents bugs for 365 days.
Not in my house, you don't.
Nature's wild. Your home doesn't have to be.
Your loved ones are getting older, and they need your support. Care.com is here to help. It's an easy way to find background-checked senior caregivers in your area and some peace of mind. See why millions of families have trusted Care. Go to Care.com now.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine. Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy.
Even a term policy?
Even a term policy!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-738-1300 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
Waiting till Friday to get paid is tricky. Then I heard about Chime. Now I get paid 2 days early, no fees. Early payday guarantees that I can make it to any gig, any rehearsal, anytime. Join me at Chime.com.
I know a lot of voters are exhausted. You know who else is exhausted? Every single player at halftime of the Super Bowl. And what do? They go out there and they do it again. This is halftime in the Biden versus Trump contest. And yeah, you have to play in both halves.
Donald Trump will lie. And we know that he will lie because we know that he will speak. And it is impossible for him to do one without the other.
There's that. Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in New York. Just 4 hours to go until the first presidential debate of the 2024 presidential election cycle. There's one thing we know for sure, and there's not a lot we know for sure, but there is one thing we know for sure about how tonight will go down. Donald Trump will lie about lots of things. He lies about things big and small. He lied more than 30,000 times during his presidency, including about losing the 2020 election. And he has lied continuously since he left office. Tonight will be no different. But beyond the lies, tonight's debate will be unlike any other, even different than when President Joe Biden and then President Donald Trump faced off in 2020. That is because the current president of the United States will now be on stage debating a man with 34 criminal convictions. A man found liable for sexual assault, a man who, when he didn't win last time, incited a violent and deadly insurrection on our country. Nothing about tonight is normal. As much as there are people who want to put this debate in terms of policy positions or foreign policy agendas that might come up, the contrast is actually a lot simpler. One candidate obeys and reveres the rule of law even when it ensnares his own son. The other loathes it, is running on destroying it. One candidate is trying to protect America's democracy. The other is got it on a website that he's going to dismantle it. One puts the country before himself. The other puts himself before the country and his own supporters. And I don't know if you want to hear this or not, but the polls show the two candidates within striking distance of one another right now, meaning that there's a lot to learn about what the voters actually know about what each man says they're going to do as president. Tonight will be the first time they get to do that. It'll be the first presidential debate to be held in a studio with no live audience since Kennedy debated Nixon in 1960. There'll be a mute button